In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to What's the Dillies podcast. What's the Dillies is a podcast I created to bring the dance community closer together by bringing you behind the scenes and into the minds of my favorite dancers in hopes that it can help you on your dance journey and can maybe help you in your life too. Alright, for today's guest, well, this was last minute and I'm glad that they both said yes. On my left here, on my close left, we have Tanz, aka Tanz the Man. And we also have Manny on the far left. Alright. We just came back from a shoot. It was pretty fun. We had a nice little jam out in the park. That's coming out soon. You can check it out on Manny's Instagram. And alright, boys, just introduce yourselves.
So there's, like the bro Andy said, shout anyways for setting this up.
Got you, bro.
What's up, Manny? My guy. My name's Taniora Motutere. I'm a dancer / mover / artist, I guess you can say, and I've been doing it for a long time, as long as, that's probably the only thing that I kind of know, probably the only thing I do know how to do in terms of, I've spent my life pretty much dancing, so started maybe properly, when I feel like I'm actually living the dance life, I was maybe 13, and that started out with kind of, crump before then was a big hobby of mine. Yeah, and then that kind of led on to meeting friends of friends in that kind of crowd, and we formed a group called Identity Dance Crew, and then Identity.
Were you at the original Identity?
Yeah.
I don't never hype it out like that. This guy, surprised. There's one say it's like, were you at the?
Damn. It was.
Damn, you're old.
Yeah,
old.
He's an OG, bro. He's an OG.
Holy, I didn't even know.
Scary up.
So I was 13 when we first started out. It was in 2008, late 2008, and it was a group of boys that all like dance. We weren't doing anything too serious then, or it was all just a hobby, a passion. We like to hang out, watch dance videos, dance jams, and constantly, learning as a group.
How did you all meet each other before ID happened?
How does this start? I haven't thought about the story in a while. So, how I kind of met the boys, was, so, like I said before, I started out with crumping with my older brother Luke, and so he was at Western Springs at the time, Western Springs College, and I was at Kōwhai Intermediate, and so I used to go hang out with him and all his friends from school, and we all kind of got into crumping at the time, and we used to meet up. We used to go youth / church I think it was more like youth, and there was a side of religion, as crump back then felt like it was very connected to Christ and God. And so we kind of went to youth every Friday night, and so this was Epic Church, that was based in Mount Eden at the time, and it was the only, from what I can remember or believe, that it was the only church at the time for Epic, and so they used to get a whole bunch of transports of buses coming from the shore, out west, out south, and I'm not too sure if there was a bus that came from East Auckland, but they used to bring all the youth to Mount Eden, to Central Auckland, and so there was a lot of crumpers from South Auckland, and that used to jam at youth as well, and so it'll be a thing that will meet up. People usually go an hour earlier. There'll be a skate ramp. There'll be sports playing, people playing table tennis, pool, some basketball, some vibe. Soccer. Everyone's hanging out just before, and then you'll have a group of crumpers, you know, with their speaker
Yeah.
and on the side in the car park, and we'll all be jamming together. And yeah, so we pretty much, I was representing our fams back then, our crop fams, Rampant fams.
Yeah.
Shout out to the homies. And so one of the bros, JC, Ngāpira, who I met through this kind of group. After, when I went to high school, he kind of formed or came up with the idea with one of the other bros, Kurt Daniels, from Mount Albert Grammar, and they wanted to form a dance crew, and so there was that connection, and JC knew me through Crump, so it was literally both their ideas of forming Identity Dance Crew, and JC hollered at me, and also the bro Matthew Moore that was also at Western Springs College. So there was us three from that school. Then there was Kurt, who got in Cody Tahita. Rest in peace to the homie. And also had contacts with one of the other boys, Jerome, who went to Linfield College, I believe, and Ethan, who went to Custom Boys, and that was kind of the first group that came together, and we formed and jammed out, and prepared for our first competition at Groove 08.
Damn, that's crazy. Like, bro, you gave us like a real history run as well. I didn't even know. Did you know that? I didn't know Josh and like Richie and all that weren't even in the first iteration of.
Yeah.
Oh well, because they were already in the game. Like they were already in the hip hop scene. So,
oh really?
Like I'm
TMC
talking
and
about So like we were watching them on YouTube.
Oh.
Straight up. Well, I'm not too sure. I knew like Richie and Andrew, obviously, and the TMC boys. And then there was Desire, and then also later came like Sass Boys, Request, and Desire Academy. There's probably a few others out there that I'm missing. But I haven't thought about our history in a long time, and
That's great.
And so, we were all very much inspired by them. Seeing their videos, going to Worlds like Desire was the first one. I think it was 2006 maybe, or they came second and stuff. Like everything, YouTube was like the access. Even though it wasn't as huge, that's how we got to see everyone, or that's how we kind of, found out all of our inspirations and influences to wanting to join the hip hop scene and start a crew.
Bro, you know what's so dope about having you on, bro? Is like these things. Like I feel like maybe Manny's generation, the newer generation, like when they come into the game, they see the identity now, right? ID code, and they see this being led by Josh, but they don't know like the whole history behind it, which is dope because you've done like a full like rundown of like people that are in it, how you guys met, and like, bro, I feel like that's me, you know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a bit of a timeline to think about,
encyclopedia.
It's well, I don't know. I was very young, like 13, and I was just such a buzz at the time. And it was just so cool to get into, and obviously we did our first competition. We weren't expecting anything out of it. Groove 08, which was part of the World Supremacy Battlegrounds. Or Battlegrounds when it was like starting out, and that was the New Zealand qualifications to try and get over to Australia to compete in the Australasian Battlegrounds competition. And bro, we bossed it. Like we ended up we ended up coming third with our like first like proper choreographed piece in a competition.
It's all good, isn't it?
That's what I mean. Like we weren't expecting anything of it. Then all of a sudden we're like, oh bro, we're qualified to go to this like competition in Aussie, and it's our first competition. So we obviously we felt super proud and confident that we were heading towards like the right track with our kind of art and dance as well.
Yeah.
And surprise ourselves over in Battlegrounds. Actually, we came second in the varsity division over there. So it was just like, bro, what's going on? But we're just like happy. We're enjoying each other's company. We loved going to rehearsals and creating.
Like a real brotherhood.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always been the vibe throughout ID's history, is that there was definitely that brotherhood, or that kind of family, environment. Where it was about like, giving us boys something like a purpose, rather than like something to keep us at it. It's not like we were like, there was lots of bad influences in our lives, but it was definitely something positive that we found that we, enjoyed to do, and
that's tight.
Yeah.
And you're a crumper first. Fuck, no wonder he's got these big arms.
Nah.
The big chest. And then to Tanz left, Manny, I'll introduce yourself, bro.
Yo, what's up, everyone? My name is Manny. I am 18 years old. I've been dancing.
Oh, are you 8?
Yeah.
Fuck, bro, you're like 21.
18 years old.
Bro, he's so tall, gee, I just didn't know.
I should mention 6'5" as well.
The old lady's 6'5". Let's go.
I'm a fellow creative artist, mainly within dance, filmography, and music. I love producing music, listening to it, creating a visual sense of things, of art, of anything, from the film perspective, and then being able to dance anywhere and everywhere is just something that makes me really happy. So being able to film myself dancing to music that I make is it's a pretty mean skill to be able to have. It makes you feel pretty crazy. But I've been dancing for probably 12 years now. I started properly at the dance studio probably around the age of 5, and when Jackie, Joshua Cezanne's mum, actually threw me into the dance scheme. I was waddling on stage, doing my best. And then I came underneath the wing of ID. You could say it's the old generation and the new generation of ID, because Joshua Cezanne was actually my neighbour growing up. So he was my absolute inspiration as a kid. One of the first people that I ever sort of knew as a role model amongst dance. So he definitely, as well as all the other Cezanne brothers, definitely moulded my perspective on dance very early on. So then I joined Identity Dance Company in 2013, and Swaggernaut's dance crew, the varsity crew member, was made in 2013. We did our first competition, which was regionals of SDNZ in 2014, which I believe we placed 6th at nationals, which was not bad for a start. That was back when our sister crew, Mask, which you may know of, used to be called Chic. And they were our neighbouring crews, and that eventually moulded into Mask in later years. But we stayed under the wing. I've watched many crew members come and go over the years, watched the principles of ID and our ethics change, definitely for the better, and it has now birthed into what we see it today, which I think is very strong. It's definitely what Tanz was saying. It's much more focused on attitude than anything else, and caring for your students truly. Before, I think the recruitment process used to be quite talent driven. Who is the most talented dancer? Who's someone that we can show off in the crew? And we did have some very talented dancers early on, which stayed for quite a couple of years. But we didn't realize that some of them just had a pretty rotten attitude, and we only realized until after they left that was something that was holding us back. Wow. So after some of those people left, Josh realized it was time to really take a different approach to auditions and bringing students in. And I think that really happened in 2019, and when it really stuck was when we took in a lot of dancers that weren't incredibly stand out, pretty good base, but just needed to be developed, but had incredible attitude. They were all so keen to learn, and they were just, you could see they had a spark in their eyes that they wanted to develop, they wanted to grow, and they had no ego about them. They had nothing that made them go, I'm better than these choreographers. You know, they wanted to learn, and that's the most important part. So took them under their wing in 2019, developed them into the people they are today. I mean, in Spagnauts we had, I think, 6 or 7 new crew members that we'd never used before. And I mean, obviously, it really paid off by the end of that year, managing to win Worlds. So it was that's the ones. It was a crazy experience though. So that's the majority of my dancing career, just staying put within that. In terms of film, I really got inspired this year actually. I've been filming things here and there over the past couple of years, but for dance really, I actually got super inspired during the lockdown this year with Project Team releasing their in-house competition, Project Lockdown. It was a crazy competition that just gave people who were stuck at home in New Zealand a drive to create something for their time, for the time that they were locked in their home. It gave people an idea to work off and know that you could create something in your living room and make it absolutely crazy and so creative, despite all the limitations that you had, despite the environment that you're in. And that was definitely a Kickstarter for me, because as a kid I always dreamt of being able to have a professional film shoot for a dance. Like one day I'm gonna get a proper video with lights and all the cool stuff to something that I've choreographed. And then when I started entering in the competition and making some videos, I just sort of realized, oh man, I can actually do this myself. So it sort of lifted off from there. And after making a couple videos a week, I just went, damn, this is something I really want to pursue. So I've been making videos ever since from then.
Nice.
Yeah, and then music. Music I've always loved. I've always loved making music as a kid. Always played with instruments here and there. I've been doing drums, guitar, and piano and bass for just a couple of years now. But I love music production, electronic music production. Definitely got inspired from listening to all the hip hop songs and dubstep tracks that we would choreograph all to, and just going, man, how amazing must this feel to be able to make this yourself. Got into the works of making that.
Nice.
Now I've been producing music for fellow locals here and there, just to jam when they need. I worked on a fashion show in Portugal earlier this year, where they asked to make some catwalk music, 15-minute track. So that was a real amazing opportunity. But all in all, I just love to create. That's that.
That was dope. And like, honestly, if you can hear the way that Manny talks with such passion, bro, you guys need to follow them right now. Like, I'll link all their socials. I'll link Tanz. I'll link Manny. You guys just check them out, give them a follow, because bro, these guys are some people to look out for. So I gotta cycle back, because it was crazy what you said about like egos and oh man, because like when you talk about it, I noticed it too, but I wasn't in ID long enough to see it like fully
Experience it.
to fully experience it, but I could feel it. It was a bit weird, but like you kind of know when someone they think they're good and then they don't work as hard. I felt like that's so where do you think? Okay, because I know that how ego is, it can be healthy if you use it correctly, and you do need an ego in
certain aspects.
In certain aspects.
Certain level.
Yeah.
Or what do you feel like? Because maybe ego. Where do you think ego is healthy, and where do you think it's not? And then just bring it around.
I would say confidence is healthy over ego. Personally, I think being confident in your ability and your skill, and knowing your standards for certain things, and knowing when to do things at what level, and maybe when to turn down other things, and also knowing where you stand within the spectrum that is the dance industry, I think is really important to have. So I think ego is a bit of a tainted word. I feel like we use the term ego in a more of a negative light than positive. But I like to think confidence is definitely one that you always need to maintain, and it's just being able to respect yourself and being able to respect where you stand within that spectrum and know what you're worth in a lot of environments. So within ID, I think it's very important to have a collective confidence as a crew. I think that's something that's very important, which comes from trusting your teammates and supporting each other and being able to clarify with each other and be like, yeah, bro, like you are really good at that. Like I can vouch for you. I see it, and that's great. And when you get close enough in a crew, you're also able to call them out. And we're like, bro, you're not as good as you think in this part. You need to rework your foundations. Yeah. You need to work in this little area, and just being able to reach out to your brothers when you can, and then as a collective, your confidence and your mindsets on how you tackle things will ultimately rise into a really positive way, because as a crew, it's being a part of a crew is very different to your individual persona. I feel, and you really you've got to be on the right mindset, on the same mindset, where you're walking and where you're dancing and where you're being presented. So I think in terms of having an ego in ID, I think definitely, rather than saying an ego, just having a collective confidence within your crew, within your company, knowing what you can do, and respecting where you stand within amongst everything else.
Yeah, nice, bro. Yeah, I totally agree with Manny, in the sense of when you are a part of a crew, for instance, for example, identity dance crew, a hip hop crew, there has to be a certain level of, you're very right, everyone has to have a kind of same structure, need to perform, not necessarily perform the same, but it all, the type of routines or the type of competitions you're entering, you are required to kind of dance the same. And there is room for individual like personalities to come through, and you can always add that in your performance as a performer on stage, or in the space. But but then there's always that there can always be a bit of opportunity for you like being a little bit toxic in some space, and that just comes down to a lack of maybe experience, professionalism, knowing what it's like to be a part of a group, and achieving the same goal, and when you are in a crew, it's very much about the collective and not the individual. But I'm not saying that like all kind of opportunities or projects like that. So I'd like to talk about where that can be more welcoming, or in a space for someone that is very special in their kind of area of skills, and where you can find yourself blossom in situations a bit more. So
I see what you mean.
So something like, I know I've done I've been freelancing for a very long time. I've taken a break this year, but for the last maybe 5 years freelancing. That's right. Yes. And so this is in the contemporary dance world, and so as a freelancer, you're contracted on into a job to work with a group, or for a choreographer to work in a piece, and most of the time that's based on your kind of skill level, but also like the type of mover you are. So people are hiring for your kind of like your kind of style, your kind of thing, where you don't have to necessarily have the same skills as everyone else, but you can all still be in the same work and create, you know, something, and create this piece, or bring this piece to life. So yeah, so it's learning to adapt. I think that's important for kind of any dancer, is being able to adapt, keep an open mind. Don't be toxic, but always be open to learning. You know, like you don't have to always kind of know everything yourself, you know, and there's always room for improvement, which you will find through peers that you like end up jamming with. You know, you may not, if you might meet some new dancers that you've never moved around, and you're constantly learning. You can constantly pick and take from other artists or other movers, and you know, you're not going to get that through having a very big ego, I guess, or being too overconfident and not welcoming to, you know, learning yourself and adding more to your craft by learning from others rather than being better than everyone else. You know, because there's always room for improvement. So humble yourself, but also, you know, like keep confident at what you do. Know that you're good at some things. You're great at what you do, but also there are definitely always room for improvement in areas that you lack, and that you'll pick up from other.
I want to add to a point
artists
that you mentioned before, which was that there's always going to be like someone better than you, and then to jam with different people. Because even today, like a real life example is like I haven't jammed with Tanz or Manny like ever. Like I've taken class with them, like beside them. But jamming with them today and seeing how they move and seeing just like how crazy they actually are, because like I've seen Tanz's choreo and like I've seen it real hard. I've seen Manny's work. I've seen that too. But seeing them like freestyle and like seeing them just jam and what they can do, it's like, bro, it's just super inspiring. Like the more people you jam with, just the more things you can learn, and just always expose yourself.
For sure,
absolutely.
I can say the same about you, my bro. Like even today, or you know, as you as well. No, but like you said, like even today was a perfect example of like what you can take from, you know, every kind of artist or movers. That, man, there's always something to learn, and there's always, and even today, like just noticing just small little gems that you're kind of like, ooh, you know, that you connected with, because maybe you felt like, I don't think I've ever, you know, explored in that kind of way, or made those kind of decisions, like, you know, consciously too, you know. It's like there's, so I think that was pretty cool to experience today, from, you know, and it was just like a few rounds that we did, but and you know, there was probably a lot of good juiciness that, you know, I wasn't processing at the time, because I was trying to process, you know, some other juiciness in that jam today, you know. It was just kind of like, wow, but there was just definitely moments for me that I'm like, damn, like there's so much to learn from, like each of you, and like there's like definitely little things that I'm like, oh, I wish, like, you know, I had that bit of sauce the way he, you know, this movie does it, or this person does it, you know. So that's
what's really dope is like bro, I was catching in your rounds, like you switch your directions like a lot. And like you switch your levels and directions a lot, but you do it differently to how I would, and I'm like, holy, and how you use your frame as well. You use your this a lot. But Manny, like, you're crazy too, because like your limbs are so long. Where like things that you would do, I would never, because I can't make like maybe an arm swing look as nice as you do because of how long your limbs are and how you use it. So it's like, bro, it's just so inspiring. Today was me, I learned heaps.
Same then, bro. I mean, especially, Tanz style, at least, bro, I've seen you my whole bloody life. You've always been the master of finesse, if I can ever remember it. And I've always, groove has been something I really struggle with personally. I think just from what I've been brought up with, specializing in isolation more so, and also just my general limbs. It's. I'm not. You got groove.
Wow, you got your own groove. Groove is a that topic's like very it's quite hard because I find that like groove comes from like not just it's personality, right?
Yeah.
And it's your kind of groove, and that can be portrayed, like
That's facts,
in
bro.
so
That's
many
true.
different ways. So like you probably like without even knowing it, you probably didn't have a groove, but maybe there was a like a type of maybe I don't know placebo on it, or like what you thought should have been a groove, like what groove is, but
well, I guess just from the people that I know that consider themselves groovers, like Indy, for example, Indigo. She's got a mad groove. She's really she's just good with using all of her body all at the same time. She's crazy, and I think she's always been a style that I would always find one of the most challenging for me to get, because when it's all these little intricate things with the body, that's fine, that comes naturally to me. But when it's about getting a specific vibe per se, and getting into the pocket of something specific, especially just a lot of torso moving, that's never something that I was really able to crack. So I considered that to be the epitome of like having a groove. And because I could never crack that, I was so far over to this other side, I just went, I don't have any groove there. I need to practice that. On that side. But I guess that's a good point though. I think groove is definitely something, now that you mention it, something that is a lot bigger than just what's the physical movement of something. It definitely is a personality. It's the way that you portray yourself, the kind of energy that your movements give out. And maybe I just hadn't seen anyone that does it in a similar way before.
No, you should keep on to that groove that you have. I don't know if you even know what it is for you yet.
Yeah.
But like I can think when me and you see him do it today, like you did have a certain like move to you that like you did have a certain way you like to move, and I think I feel it, bro.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you just hold on to that, bro. Don't water yourself down.
Hard out.
Yeah, man.
Okay, next question. I got something for both of you guys, because what you said before, Manny, about like 2 generations of ID, we do have like the old man.
Damn, bro.
I'm only 26, cuz.
Savage.
Yeah, but Uncle Tanz. But I guess from both of your perspectives, like seeing how ID was and how it is now, like what's changed, like what stayed the same, like seeing the people come in, come out, like what's it been like, bro? And for you too, Manny, because you had been in like ID for a long time as well, so
Well, not really. So very much I feel like when we started out, it was definitely like a massive hobby for us. We were in a small group of 7 at the time, and pretty much I'm sure that next year the whole like majority of the team changed, or maybe it was the year after. So from them it was very much, we just wanted to kind of get into this competition scene, try out the hip hop. It was very much like buzzing at the time. We were all buzzing, like feeling it. Just because like we were given opportunities to like create our own thing and share it on the space, and sometimes we were rewarded. Not all, and I'm not talking about like getting placings, but rewarded in the sense that we were inspiring people
100%.
that people that came to see to the competitions and see all the crews and stuff. We'd get lots of really good feedback from people, and that people that enjoyed what we were creating. And then I felt, and then so because of that kind of drive, we were starting to take it a bit more serious and we really wanted to we were striving to go to Worlds, and we wanted to be one of those teams that represented New Zealand and made it at Worlds, but also represent ourselves as artists. And very much we were lacking lots of experience for sure. And we tried so hard for maybe 4 years, and eventually we got an opportunity, and then it was our first time entering the adults division. Second time, yes, maybe second time, where we were qualified to go to Worlds.
That's right, I was in the audience for that.
Yeah.
It was the first nationals I was ever at, and I remember seeing them and be like, man, I want to do that one day.
Straight up. So that year was a really good year. I think that year was like the year that like all of our hard work for all those years jamming together paid off as as a team and as a brotherhood. And and then we went to Worlds, and it was our first time, and we're like, man, just like we've been working for like literally like the last 4 years to get here, and we're finally there, and we did pretty well there, and we ended up placing like second,
pretty well.
Second, and it was like huge for us,
First,
it was
amazing.
not first. Unfortunately, not first.
0-0-1.
Shout out to
not first.
who are those guys? Oh, Rockwell, yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, nah.
But to be honest,
that's
that I reckon you wouldn't have done as nearly as well if you guys had one. To be honest, because there was that thing Josh was saying a while ago, is that if you guys won, you might not have wanted to go back after. You're like, sweet, we're done. We're sus.
to work towards to.
And if you hadn't done that, then the company wouldn't have been made.
For sure. Well, that's it. So from that competition, there was a lot of interest and people wanting to learn from us.
Yeah.
People really wanted to, if there was any opportunity on joining Identity Dance Crew. And so, there's so many interest in a lot of the younger generation, as well as adults. And, we held an audition, and we don't know whether it was like just for Identity Dance Crew, or whether we wanted, we just like kind of gonna hold an audition, see how many people turn up. And and then so we had heaps like lots of the youth come through, heaps, like a few adults and stuff, and we're like, oh snap, like this is crazy, like we didn't expect that, right? Because we were just kind of like, this is our thing. We always strive to like kind of do our own thing within that competition as well. We were always striving to be different. Try and kind of not change the game, but just add something different to that competition and the kind of scene at the time. That was kind of always our strive, really. And so for people to kind of be interested in joining us in that pathway was kind of it was dope. And then all of a sudden we're like, these are a lot of people, but we don't want to this is a cool opportunity to give people an opportunity to learn from us. And so we created like smaller teams for the different age groups and stuff, and we're like, maybe we should work towards help choreographing, train all these kids in that journey on trying to get to Worlds. And and so that kind of happened. And over the years it was all a bit of a development. I'm trying to get there. And eventually ID's gone back like a few times. The company IDCO developed, and there was multiple crews within IDCO that pretty much entered for Worlds. And so that was pretty much that. And it was like that transition from creating for one team to like
that's
multiple people, and I was like, man, this is like that's huge.
So
but it was like it was a dream, man. It was a dream. Like even for myself, I was like, man, I've always like when it started with ideas, like, what would it mean to have our own like studio, have a hub there. Like it's not just like a studio. People come classes. It's like a space for people to hang out. There's like a little area for people to like chill out and meet friends and meet dancers and stuff. And so that was kind of that was sort of an idea through, seeing the company develop. And then, it's very competition based. There was a few opportunities for doing, fundraisers like shows and stuff, like show content, theatre work, and lots of other things as well, like TV.
Your talent show.
Videos, talent. Yeah. Oh man, that
Did
one.
I have a television show?
No. New Zealand. We entered
New
New
Zealand's
Zealand's
Got
Got
Talent.
Talent.
Yeah, I remember that one, yeah.
That's right. And also like a multi, like fusion, haka fusion.
Oh,
that's right.
Competition, and where we fused our hip hop with multi movement kabaka as well. So there's been heaps of little buzzy experiences along the way for sure. But it's very much a professional company than what it was back then. It was we were just like a bunch of like brothers that just wanted to aspire to just be like, the other New Zealand community, like dance community that, always go over there and represent our country. We just want to, I know for myself, that's definitely what I wanted, at the time. To now, it's like, a very professional.
Bro, now you're like number one in New Zealand, bro.
It's weird.
Like,
Very strange.
It is strange. It's like I buzz out to it and I'm like, whoa. It's a legacy for myself. It's a very proud achievement, and
man.
I've spent pretty much most of my life, with Identity Dance Company, and it's only like pretty much this year that I've my interest in dance have gone elsewhere, and and it just gets to that point of time in your career that you wanna explore and kind of find other things in dance as well. So but I guess I hope that answered your question.
Can I ask one quick, before we bring it over to Manny, I just wanted to ask one question, which is like what year would be like the highlight year that you will never forget in ID?
I think it was it would be 2013 for me. Because
it was the year.
That was the year
That
that
was
like
the year.
identity it changed, from the boys to like this professional dance company,
That's crazy.
and that was the biggest like highlight moment of my dance career, really.
Yeah, man.
That was a buzz, bro. Like second at Worlds, who would have thought for us, like for myself, that's huge.
Absolutely.
It was massive. I was 18 at the time. And it was the adult division. It was like our second year and we were all still like trying to figure what kind of style we were, we were still learning, teaching ourselves and learning from each other as we go. And so I'd probably say 2013 for sure.
Yeah, 100%. For sure.
And Manny, what are your thoughts on like the generation changes, like what you've seen, and maybe some patterns in ID code?
It's buzzy because it's sort of from when you were talking about highlight of your career from 2013 and when the company started, that's sort of when I jumped in. So it's like after that peak came and then I sort of started. So it's this very buzzy transition.
That connection there.
So I can give you that different perspective. It was very buzzy. Joining originally at the end of that 2013 as a kid, I'd always grown up. I feel like before then I'd still sort of been on the direction of ID before it was even a company. Because
he used to be downstairs where we used to create our stuff, and he was was jamming with us.
That's
right. At Shackleton here, we a lot of our stuff were created at this space.
That's
or a lot of the ideas that we used to speak about were like at downstairs with our mirror and the music, that's where all the kōrero happen with any ideas that will come up with fine music, or we should try this for this set, and you know, we'll have our jams, and sometimes Manny will be over, and Manny will be jamming, you know, with us and vibing with us, and be like, cool, you know, like when he was a young kid at the time, bro. Like,
I always remember because I was homeschooled as well, so I was home a lot more so than others, and I would always remember whenever I had a new like dubstep song that Josh was jamming to, I'd be like, yo Josh, what's that? Can I come to you? Yeah, so it was a long time coming, I feel, because Swaggernaut's actually before ID was made, Swaggernaut's was actually a dance studio. So the dance studio has been going for years, because that's from Jackie's original thing, and Josh was taking a hip hop class that had some girls and some boys in it, which was actually, the majority of them was the original Mask and Sheet girls. So they were in the dance studio from like probably 2011, I would say 2011, 2012. Wow. So that's when Swags actually started, and it was a hip hop crew, and then it was a hip hop class, and then one day Jackie just said to Josh, like, we're gonna compete in like a couple small competitions. We need a name. So he said, well, how about Swaggernauts? And I was like, yeah, that's me. So then we did the ACDA dance studio competition at a local school, which I think we won maybe after the second time, and it was like everyone was so stoked, and that was the first time that we'd ever done something, and then after we stayed in that class for a little bit, it eventually transitioned at the end of 2013 to a crew, a proper crew that was going to compete at the national hip hop competitions, and that was when it became an all boys crew. It was 2014. It was Remy, Hank, William, myself, Jovi.
But that team transitioned from the dance studio to Identity. Well, Josh kind of Identity Dance Company. Swaggernauts, are you talking about?
Yeah, Swaggernauts.
In 2014.
Yeah, so beginning of 2014, late 2013. That's when it transitioned into it, because I remember he as a dance studio crew, I remember there was one of the lessons when he went, I want to make this an all boys class, and then it turned into that, and then it was still a dance studio thing for that year, for 2013, for a little bit, and then by the end of the year he went, sweet, this is going to go into ID, and we were just like, sweet. So that's when we joined it, and I remember it was the night before nationals or regionals, I believe, where we're at Dominion Road Studios, and it was the first night that we had officially called ID a company. Yeah. And we got our first ID code t-shirts. Yeah. We were doing
all the names.
Yeah, we were watching the XS showings and all that at the time. That was the hype varsity crew at the time. Chic and Swags were the junior crews. So that was the beginning. So it's interesting to hear your perspective of how it formed, because I didn't know much before that because I was too young. But then hearing sort of how it was as a crew, and it was just boys jamming, and I saw the back end of that, and then deciding to make it into a company. It was when I finally joined in, and it was real buzzy to be there as a kid, because I was just keen to do anything, and because it was like, wow, these kids, these boys that I've looked up to next door all this time, I can finally actually learn from and be there 3 times a week. It was crazy. So our first years were very, everyone was just very excited. And at the same time, nobody really knew what they were doing, because it was
us, right? We were like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was
managing all these, like, trying to help out all these different teams. It's like,
yeah, man. It was intense. I remember our first 3-hour training for Swags felt like an eternity. Like we could not. It was crazy.
But also, not everyone knew everyone as well. Nah. Everyone was still kind of like very much just in your like groups and all your crews, because even for like the rest of the boys like us, obviously Josh had mentored you guys. Yeah. But we didn't actually like.
Oh, know them.
Yeah, I've seen them around, but we didn't and there was also that kind of, meeting each other, meeting everyone. But then, it was a very new scene, in Central Auckland, I felt for sure, because it was all Central, mostly anyway. Central Aucklanders.
Yeah, that's still something that we actually struggle with to this day.
Yeah.
Just keeping all the crews connected.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest changes has been the capacity of our company. You know, we're like over 100 members strong now. It's crazy. From a 9-man crew to over 100 people. It's incredible. And whenever it came to competition points, especially when ID started doing stuff outside of HHI, there's a massive level of separation there. Like I know for 2019. Like we barely saw you guys most of the year. You guys were off doing
half the company was you guys, and then doing your training for Worlds and stuff, and the adults who are kind of doing their thing. But it was just like it's just like managing those amount of numbers, and obviously but giving everyone an opportunity to participate in something for the year. Oh man, that's when I like really look at Josh like, bro, props to the homie Josh, because like trying to run a company ain't easy.
Absolutely.
Like, and trying to keep everyone like satisfied and happy with like being a part of the company, but also opportunities as well. And it definitely, because of the age groups, you're like really young. I don't know how the youngest, there's junior IT, we're talking like
it's like 12 years old, 10
10 or something, to
like above 20, late 20s,
like late 20s maybe. We got Leighton, he's like 30,
But
like it's so, and it's like what are the good things, and working with the different levels, so it's trying to organize that, what groups should experience what for their level, and obviously where they're at, time and their dance kind of life as well. So
so it's big props definitely to the choreographers, to the leaders, being able to give such a spectrum of knowledge and opportunity to each crew. That growth was such a huge change, and general professionalism. I feel like that. I mean, that comes as a company. Obviously, you get to do more things. You learn the ethics of what it means to be a company and how to present yourself. But it was really interesting seeing people come in over the years and their expectations of the company, how it changes, what they expect to see, not necessarily in a bad way, just what they know of the company, and how, 90% of the time, how excited they are to finally be a part of what they've heard. But when you're there from the beginning, you'll never not just consider yourself as a little company mixed with a bunch of boys that just loved making things and doing stuff together. So by the time it's been 4 or 5 years, and you get to the point where people that you look up to as well, that you consider world-class companies, come over to you and go, "You're amazing, I'd love to work with you at some point," it just kind of it slaps you in the face a little bit sometimes. It goes, "Oh wow, we're a world-class company now." It's a really strange thing to think of. And when people come in, when new people come in and they have that, it's kind of weird to think, at least with Swaggernauts, at least sometimes people come in saying like, "Oh, I can't believe I made it into like the best varsity crew in New Zealand," kind of thing. And it's like, damn, you really think that? That's so buzzy. We were just a bunch of kids, man. It was a very buzzy experience to see that change over time. But from that, it was great having those new people come in, because it actually also helped us in terms of the attitude that we wanted within the company, because some people came into the company with sort of expectations that were a little bit higher than what we realistically were, just because you know, if you're not in a company and you see the outside, you're only going to see the end product of stuff, right? So sometimes you come into it and expect it to be all that, but it's not. Like, you're missing 90% of the grunt work, you know, and that's what it really is to be in a company, and that's why, and that's what we love personally. But sometimes people come in with this really high attitude, and it's like, this is one of the best dance companies in New Zealand, so I have to be absolutely onto my point. I need to have a good diet. I need to have like proper training resumes. I need to be absolutely committed. And most of us were, but some people within the company didn't feel that way, and were a little bit more on the slack. And then to have those people come in that expect that from those people, it actually lifts ourselves up as well, because it goes, oh, we need to meet those expectations as well. So not only are these new people gaining from the company, from being able to be with us properly, but we're also gaining stuff from them as well, because we're going, shit, we need to be at that level, because that's where they want us to be as a crew. So it was a real lovely experience to get that.
Also, I feel like at this time, man, the youth is crazy.
Yeah.
Man. The generation now, like,
man.
And like, you know, back then it was a lot smaller. It was a lot smaller to what it is now. I'm only comparing it to what like the dance community is now.
Yeah.
And like how much like opportunity, or you know, there's so many like classes like happening now, you know, in all areas of Auckland, you know. There was it was really like, even in, I'm pretty sure in central Auckland there was only really ID classes happening, you know, like I'm talking earlier, like 2000 and
that Crystal Palace
place,
place.
like 5 years ago or something, and then like, you know, there was Sound Vision, some of those homies back then. I don't know if you guys remember Sound Vision. I'm talking, you know, Alistair, Jolene, Jesse, you know, AJ. Like, they used to throw like a community class as well, like at Tapak. But there just wasn't like, there wasn't as much as there is now. Like in every like part of Auckland, there's always something happening every day.
It's a power.
Whereas it used to just be like 1 or 2 classes a week, you know, like, and you either, but now, man, like, you know, it's like the younger generation now definitely are like very fortunate to have that access, you know, and but to have like some experience, trained like international, you know, dancers and like leaders, you know, that are here in New Zealand, that are like, you know, giving back to the community as well. I mean, there wasn't that much back then, you know, and it was very much everyone kind of stuck to their own. But now, like, all the dancers love to work with each other, like, you know, like, people like jump around and like to jam with others, and I think that's awesome. I think that's the way to kind of grow, you know, like, you know, if that's what I mean, like, just for myself, it comes to a time when you're like, with, you know, like, and that can be with kind of any job or profession that you're doing. It's like, you know, there's only so much, or you can only become so strong as, you know, the peers around you, until you need to, you know, kind of find access somewhere else, or some room for improvement elsewhere. And like, and that's why I think it's important to always kind of just, if you see or meet someone and you like the way that they create, or, you know, they inspire you in some way, you know, and you're given an opportunity to work with them, just do it. You never know. Just like, you might, even if it's not something that you like do like, and you find that you find out things that you don't like, bro, there's only one way to find that out, right? So, and, you know, every opportunity, every experience, like, that's just as important, I think. But definitely a bit more happening for the dance community here now.
It's more to do.
You got so many dope, like, dancers here that you
That's crazy too.
that you
'Cause,
can
like,
learn from.
when I think about it, like I get a lot of questions that get sent in about like how do I get good, or like
Yeah.
like cause my Instagram's open for DMs and I get like some viewer questions that come in, and a lot of them like they revolve around like, oh, how do I grow, like how do I get like better faster, like all these other things, because people want to be better because the standard here is quite high.
It's
Yeah.
really
And
high.
if you're not up to that standard, then you feel like, oh, I need to like work harder and get better. But
like also almost shortcuts, right? Like
nah, the thing is, it's like, bro, people are so lucky here because I feel like the easiest way to get good is just join a team.
Absolutely.
Because like if you IDCO, for instance, like you guys breed like so many good dancers because of like the level that you guys like train at, and like the peers that you surround yourself with. Like I feel like everybody, or well, at least when I was in, I felt like everybody that was there wanted to get better.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, sweet. Like, you know, if I'm going to training, if I'm not training as hard as the guy next to me, then you know, why am I even here? And then it was cool because like I was there for the year when we were doing it at the park, and then also the following year where we did it at Habitat Fitness, and that was like a huge ass change where I don't know, just changing environments from like the park to Habitat of Fitness, I felt like almost like an elevation. Like people were like, okay, this is like serious
It's
now.
serious.
Let's just keep going harder.
that's it.
It's dope, bro. Just join a team, man. If you have the resources, I reckon just join a team. And you'll get better so quickly.
It's the nature of the competition that drives you to be better. Basically, that's essentially it. Especially what you're saying with people around you. If you're not as good as the person next to you, you'd be better. You'd be as good as them, working as hard as them. That's essentially what it is from a crew perspective as well.
Friendly competition.
Yeah, friendly competition. when you that's the beauty of.
Better than you.
Wow.
Why the boys were doing that though?
Yeah, straight up.
I'll sass you at this.
Yeah, I'm not stomping hard enough. Your arm swings up. Sloppy, bro.
That's definitely the one though. I personally feel like that's why Mask and Swags have done so well over the years, because we've definitely had ups and downs with certain people, but having two directly competing crews in the same level each year, trained by the same people, you know, you have that natural level of competition with each other that just drives you to be better each time.
It's definitely that. You guys were like helping each other out.
Absolutely.
In terms of that
Absolutely.
growing process. It was always like a bit of rivalry, not like in a bad way or anything, but it was like that good competition where
I mean we'd have checkpoints halfway through. We would have mini showings for just Mask and Swag sometimes, because we would often be training in the door, next door to us, and every single time, if we do a showing with each other, we're going as hard as we goddamn can, and be like, we've been training harder.
You can hear them in the other room, and they're like, they're screaming louder than us. We gotta scream louder, guys.
Absolutely.
Their vocals are louder, bro.
Absolutely.
We gotta be louder.
And that's what it comes. And I mean, there have been a couple years where it became a bit toxic, definitely. Because that's just, when you do it for that long, sometimes it happens, and certain people push it down a bad road. But
not the first.
But but that's also the culture of competition.
Absolutely.
That's definitely the culture of competition. You're always striving to be better, and at the end of the day, a panel, panel of 5 people, 8 people are gonna say, just based on that performance, either like, yo, this team was better.
Yeah, it's always tough. It's always tough. Especially when you've just been jamming with each other for so long, and then suddenly someone gets a higher place than you, or someone doesn't, so it's lower. It's like it sort of puts a little bit of a stigma in your mind sometimes. It's like, even though we were just jamming before and we're fine, it's like, oh yeah, but you beat us. So
for sure.
I guess you're better.
But after doing it for so long, you come to realization it's just a panel,
Absolutely.
and it's just like, like a few people's opinion, and it's always based on their opinion on that night, or that day of the competition, and that, I've definitely, I'm not much of a competition person now as I used to be. I used to like that drive was always like, well, it's gangster really, because you're always bloody growing and creating new stuff constantly, and it gives you that discipline, that drive to work towards. But then it's like there's always limitation.
Absolutely.
You know, like, and you're not always free to do whatever you want. You're pretty much. Well, you're pretty much not really. You're just ticking boxes. It becomes like a ticking box thing, And then there's a bit of room for creativity, like, and like your own kind of twist in it. But you know, you're working with trying to, you know, like execute each style. They're style based. Whereas, I feel like, but that's fine. That's the competition culture at the end of the day.
So if you want to upskill. Definitely competitions.
I remember, what was it? It's like what you said, like how there are limitations, right? Like I feel like NZ's gotten to that point where everybody's like really good at comps and they execute, like they tick the boxes really well. And but like it's almost like, cause there was one year I was watching SDNZ. I can't remember what year it was, but it was one year I was just sitting in the crowd for I think regionals, and I was just like. I was counting in my head. I was like 5, 6, 7, blah, and it happened there. And I was like, and then I started counting the rest of the sets. I was like, okay, 5, 6, and freeze. And then it happened. Like it started happening. I was like, holy shit! And then like, bro, I was like, damn, we're actually almost too good at like
refining.
It becomes like it's great, but then like now like I'm pretty sure I don't know which nationals it was, but I remember watching one day and like Loki, I was like, oh man, this is the same thing. I just watched the same performance again. I just watched the same thing again and again and again, and like and that's it. Like we have so much history with, you know, SDNZ and that competition HHI, you know, and even at HHI you find that you watch like the same performance, you know, same structures. There's no like pushing, you know, for like originality or creativity, but also it's quite hard as well because you have that, critique, or you know, that box that you have to tick. You know, there's all these like kind of boundaries.
Also, do you feel like it's because the teams that we always see at the top are the same teams?
Same teams, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Like that must make it hard too.
Yeah. Well, that's why how I found back, you know, when we first started out, I feel like we definitely were itching to, like, trying to do our own thing or trying to add our own thing, because we came, you know, a bit later to the process. But I think also a lot of our influence, like inspirations, we were watching like a lot of like choreo was like just building up or just becoming a thing back then. We were watching like the likes of, you know, Brian Puspos and like, you know, all those cats as like, you know, Philip Ganeza or and you know, we were like, oh man, choreo, like this mean buzz, like, you know, adding these sets, you know, because it was very style based, just like heaps of hype sets and stuff. I'm like, nah, that's like been done, right? Let's try to do something different. And so I've definitely felt like we came in at a good time. Yeah. With a different kind of influence or inspiration.
The whole process of HHI is very interesting because every year the crews get better. The standard is raised every year, whether you like it or not. To be honest, we're always in an upward spiral of upskilling. But it's a very specific niche, making a dance for HHI, because there is a strategy. There is definitely a strategy when it comes to making a set that will do well. Obviously you gotta show versatility. You've got to show that you can do a variable amount of things.
The HHI formula.
Yeah, right? the formula. You know, choreographers study the rule book. Like, they will read that shit through and through and then create a dance completely based off what they tell you will be your best chance of getting points. You know, and because the standard is raised so much, everybody knows that now. So every crew you see will be following the formula, because that's, or at least the people that you do see will be following that formula, because those are the people that make it. But it's interesting because you need that much to get to a certain level, right? Like let's say if you get to Worlds, right, and you're in prelims and you're in the top 60 crews, everyone will have that formula, right? Everyone will be following it because that's what you've needed to get this far.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do any better, you need to have that and then add something on top, right? If you wanna get into finals, you got to have something that's very unique about yourself. You need to have the formula, you need to have the standard, and then you also need to bring some originality in there. Your blow-ups need to be unique. They can't be repetitive. You need to make something or do a movement that nobody's seen before. And then if you want to place in top 3, you need to have that, you need to have the standard, you need to have the originality, and to be honest, you also need to have a little bit of luck on your sides. Because I mean, for Swags, at least for last year, the company had known the formula for years, so that was ticking from the very beginning. We managed to make it to Worlds no sweat. The attitude that we had from the boys of being new kids coming in, just wanting to drill, meant that we had our drive open, but more importantly, it meant that the choreographers were open to trying and developing their new ideas. And there was no ego behind any of the students, because they're just like, we are here, we are bodies, we're just going to let you do your thing. And if you want to see something, then we'll do it for you. And that's why all our ideas were so well developed, because we gave our choreographers the chance to develop them. And then and to be honest, the luck side of why we did so well as well is obviously you need to have the talent, you need to have the drive, you need to have the strategy. We had all those, but the other part was a little bit of the HHI side in terms of who do we want to be our first place winner in this division. And Kanaboon had won a couple years in a row, and there's that whole thing where they don't like people winning 3 years in a row. You just notice that. I'm pretty sure RF are one of the only companies that have won 3 years in a row. You know, you don't see that. I'm pretty sure 2019 was going to be their 3rd year. So that was nice. That was a bit of luck on our side, because they'll be looking for new people, new underdogs per se. That's like, who can we pick that's different?
Bit of timing thing.
Bit of timing definitely. There's a New Zealand crew, real strong. We haven't had a New Zealand crew win varsity in a while. Let's give them a shot. Let's bump them up, and that's a little bit of the luck side. You know, it's about.
But also, like that formula, because you know, like ID's got their own formula. And like, you know, probably any dancer in New Zealand will know ID's formula or like style. You know, you're expecting it low key, right? Like, 100%. It's like, but that's been a development but that's what's made, you know, identity, style stand out. Like, you know, like from you know, other New Zealand or, you know, international like teams. Same thing with like RF, you know, they had their formula back then that was like refreshing, bro, like nothing that you ever seen, and only they could do it the best, really.
Bro.
That was their thing. And then like you'll go like the next year, all you'll see is like different teams from different countries using that same formula, you know, and then they'll come back and do a performance, and then it'll just be like, that's the real thing, and it just, you know, like it just stands out even more, because you got like all these like kind of biting teams like trying to be something that they're not really, you know, or like inspired, so much, but not in a creative way, just more like, we gotta do it just like them.
You know what's messed up? I won't call them out anyway. I might get cancelled though. Remember that year when RF did an ISO set?
Which one?
I can't remember what year it was, but they did an ISO set, and it was like, I thought it was ugly. But I think Josh choreographed it.
Because Josh
I just
was like,
I didn't like it, just because I was like, gee, you guys folded it. Like, I don't like it when they, because RF had a style.
They had their formula, right?
They're really good at what they do. Let's be honest, they're really good at what they do. That's why they're
probably the best. Like they're the only ones that can do what they do.
I mean, how much did they make off their show? Like a few million off their show or some shit.
Probably.
Like, bro, they're crazy at what they do. And then when I saw them do ISO that one year, I was like, bro, you guys folded it, and that's why I don't fuck with it. I don't like it when like teams fold, even though like of course you want to win, but like, do you want to win being someone else or being yourself?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
it.
it was interesting. I respect them for trying it though, to be honest, just because they know that they do that stuff really well, and they also know that that's not what they're not what they're known for, and not what they are naturally good at. So I mean, I respect them for trying.
Oh, okay, wait, sorry. I also respect them for trying.
Oh yeah,
that's just because you guys did it like how ID would do it. You guys didn't do an ISO like how RF would do it. That's why.
Yeah. Which obviously comes with it because Joshua was choreographed it, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, it makes sense. But, it was interesting to see. But it definitely was a good example of showing how, like, once you make a niche of your style and how that's shown, you go with that.
That's it. And, like, the ISO, like, ISO's, like, that kind of style has, like, been done, but, like you said, like, doing it in your way.
Yeah.
And, like, bro, no one can move like Josh can.
Nah.
It's some I'd say maybe Manny or Caleb.
You could say if
I can see it like potential there, and them like achieving that ability to like kind of like touch the edges of like Josh's alienated style, bro.
Yeah.
But like that, only Josh can do what he can do.
Absolutely.
And and that's what that was that kind of extra like originality that we've had, and that was in the developments from the earlier years when we started, and Josh was with us. He was developing that all the way up until 2013, where we actually that stood out even for HHI. What we did there, it was like a completely different like performance to every other like team there, 100%. Like I'm not trying to sound like cocky about it, but like it was definitely refreshing for that competition to have that, and I think ISO has always been that thing that's kind of like differentiated us from the rest.
Yeah, I mean, you really brought that out.
It's still a thing now, bro. Like, that's every time. It's like, here it comes. Like the ISO set. I mean, it's that thing of like, you just hear that electronic dubstep. Something happened. You're like, let's go.
That definitely set idea apart in the beginning because we essentially invented a new style that could be used in the competition, and that was the big part, because if you think of everyone trying to do what they can within the styles that they had, a lot of it had already been done, and it's extremely hard to think of like what new breaking blowout can we do that hasn't already been done. That's really hard. And then if a company comes out with an entirely new style that nobody's really delved into in terms of formulas or blow-ups or freezes, we had so much that we could pull out to call ourselves, that it just instantly created this sense of originality for the company, because it was just boom, okay, there's ISO, what's that? I've never seen that before. Oh, he's shocking in the air, that's pretty cool.
Even I think it was the year you guys won Swaggernots. I was watching the live stream back here, and I just noticed a lot of teams were like throwing in some ISOs and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I didn't used to recognize like ISO in this competition before like we jammed that. And that was the same thing when requests came through, like they came through with their the whacking styles and the very like feminine styles as well, and they fucking like they did it to the best of their ability and originality, that it formed a like the next following years you just saw a little bit of requests, a little bit of ID, and like it's real trippy. But ISO back then, I think the only team that I could like think that I thought was ISO back then was not is it So Real? No, not So Real. What's Tony Tran's team? And Mike's song, they had
Jabberwockies?
No. They had a
Carbon Modern?
Carbon Modern, bro.
Yeah.
Carbon Modern, yeah, they were the only team that I thought like that jammed ISO style at that competition. But you know, they did it like suave, like you know, it wasn't too like dubstep music or anything, and it wasn't so like didn't look like electric wires like how Josh can make his like, you know, arms look like, you know, but they had that like clean kind of ISOs like you know, and that there's these like different types of like of each style that people bring something different to.
Yeah. Did you ever see was it called Just Jerk, I think, or it was those guys in the red suits?
Body Rock.
Yeah, Body Rock that one year. I think that was definitely something else that I saw.
Yeah.
They just I was blown away by that power, the power that they had, and their control in their body. I feel like was something that was definitely utilized in a similar way in ISO as well. So when I saw some of the stuff, I was like, oh, that's pretty freaking fuzzy. But yeah, I'll always be blown away by that video, because that was like, in terms of cleaning, that was like, I reckon, like 4 years ahead of its time in terms of how clean and sharp that was. You can look at some crews to that and go like, wow, that's still like, they'll probably still kick some ass.
Right.
Yeah.
I reckon Shit Kings.
Yeah.
Those guys were definitely a massive inspiration in like 2010, 11, when we turned into a 5-man crew, because we're like, some of the homies were too old to jam varsity. Like the gap was like pretty different between us, so they kind of had to move on, do their own thing, and so we were like left with less numbers, right? And we're like, damn, 5-man, like everyone's like big stack of like seven-man crews, 8-man crews, you know, and they have more to work with, and it's like it's only 5 of us. But Shit Kings was a massive influence there. We're like, oh yo, and like there was a couple years where we jammed 5-man there, and that was like, those were mean years.
Yeah, man.
Okay, I've got a hot take for you guys, okay?
Alright.
Worlds, is it still worth it?
Is it still worth it?
Yeah,
Ooh.
is Worlds still worth it? Like, and even the first time you went, because sometimes I think about Worlds and I'm like, you train all this time to go somewhere, perform a set, and then you're just kind of done. You know, if you don't make it through prelims, you're done.
Well,
all that time.
Right now, no, it is not worth it. Right now in 2020, no.
I'm not getting corona.
No, thank you. If you haven't done it,
if you haven't done it,
it's absolutely worth it for the first time at least. Like everyone's got to experience it at least once, in my opinion. I think training hard through regionals and nationals to make it to Worlds, even if it takes you a couple of years. I think doing that just to get at least one experience of Worlds, I think that's definitely worth it.
Because you learn different things about yourself and like what you're capable of as a dancer, because it just has that kind of expectation where you grow as a I mean,
it's an experience. Like it's an absolute experience. Man. Well, I mean, to go there for the first time and just know that you're surrounded by some of the best hip hop dancers in the world is like that's a lot to take in sometimes, and often you'll find a lot of your inspirations there. You know, and that's crazy. Even if you're not competing, man, being able to go there and connect with all the other dancers that are around there.
That's it. You're surrounded by like-minded people that share the same passion.
Yeah, and just understand what it feels like to be at that level of
at the best.
At the best. Know what it feels like to be at the best.
Yeah.
You know, it's something you won't ever forget. But I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it for that first time. You have to know what it feels like at least once. I think after you get a lot of what you need from the first year. I think unless you either make it past more stages and get to compete into further areas, or your crew does like an entirely different approach to the competition, I would say you don't get quite as much out of it as that first run. It's relatively similar. I think over the years of doing it, you can probably agree, Tanz, is that it mainly you mainly just get to understand more of the ropes of what the competition is. Like you rock up, you're like, yeah, I know the drill. Like I know how this works now. It's not quite as overwhelming as it was before. I know what we need to focus on now. You know,
it's an awesome experience. When you're there, it's like such a buzz, man. You know, being around all those dances and stuff. You're like, it's a dream. You know,
absolutely.
You're like, man, this is buzzy. Like all these people, like thousands of people from across the globe have come here to, you know, for the same reasons as you're there. And but it depends on where, like, what you want from dance. If you want to do that kind of thing and experience it, if you're interested in HHI or competitions, you know, definitely, I mean, why not? You're gonna gain so much from it. But it just depends on what your purpose or, you know, what you're trying to get into with dance, or what you want to achieve with dance.
I mean, it's a grind. It is a grind. It's a commitment, man. You dedicate pretty much your entire year up until August to just this. You have no holidays. You know, like if you're in a company that's making it to Worlds, you don't have holidays. You are training, you know, for the last like final 2 weeks leading up to the Worlds. You're pretty much training every single day. I know in the holidays, we're doing like 12 hours sometimes with breaks in between. It's like it's a big commitment, and you really got to make sure that you understand your goals with why you're there. For me personally, I think if you want to learn how to work in a team and work with some people that you really trust, and learn how to trust some other people that you'll be working with every single day, and upskill your personal, physical, technical level, then World's definitely worth it, because it's a speed ramp, man. It essentially lays out a 6-month plan of training for you. You know, if you put aside the physical aspect of having to train really hard, in my opinion, Worlds is the competition aspect is almost easy, because you know, from a subjective point of view, you know that once you sign up into this company, you don't have to figure out how to train each day, how long you should be doing, what you should be doing for. You go, great, you sign up, we're going to develop you for 6 months straight across a multitude of different styles. We're going to bring in guest choreographers to come in and train you. Like, all this stuff is done for you, and because you don't have to worry about it, you can just train and go and work hard every single day. And it's such a beautiful experience to have, because it leaves you on the grounds of a perfect work ethic if you do it right. If you do it right, and if you leave Worlds succeeding well and doing pretty well, then you will come off that with this incredible 6-month-long trained work ethic in how to train yourself and how to dance a certain way, which I have personally
what it's like to be a professional dancer as well. If you decide that you want to do dance as a career, it'll give you insight on what it's like to be a professional dancer and what it takes. Teaches you that mentality on how to engage with the different types of jobs you're given, what like kind of role you're given, and what your role is. So you'll learn definitely a lot of those things that professional dancers are doing in the industry.
There is that one little, I mean, obviously only a few get to experience it, placing in that top 3, but that's an experience, man. That is something else. There's the time last year, the feeling I will never forget. It wasn't actually winning. It was afterwards, when we were walking up the driveway, because there was the stage. It was a 360-degree stadium. They took half of it for the audience. They put the stage in the middle, and then the back was just an area for the crews to just chill, basically. And then there's a garage door. You go out, and then you go up, and then that's the ground level car parks that's in the open air. And when we finished, we walked up the car park, and then we walked over, and all the other crews were there because we had to stay for a little bit, and all the crews looked at us and applauded us as we walked across the car park, and here we are sitting like, holy shit. We're
at the end of it,
we're
all,
just
not
at the
even
end
like the formalities. It's like,
nah, like
almost
just
after the
all these crews, all the people that we look up to in the hip hop community are all applauding us right now, the best in the world, for that one thing, and it's like that's just a kind of feeling you'll never forget, because in the dance industry in general, especially if you're by yourself, it's sometimes it's really hard to feel like you're successful. You know, sometimes you really feel like you have to push to feel recognized or feel confident in your abilities to succeed, and worlds can really give you that incredible experience to be surrounded by all these people, and for our case to be able to feel, holy shit, we're world champions. Like, that's incredible. What an amazing experience to feel and be in the presence of. Obviously there's that whole thing around making sure it doesn't get to your ego, and when you go back to reality, make sure it doesn't stay with you. But when you're in there for that one moment, it's like that's something that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to experience again, like somewhere else. It's incredible. But yeah, those are just things that you can gain from it, and before you start the journey, you really got to think about what you want from it. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the people that go there for like 7 years straight, whether it's for not for anything, just they do it because that's all they've done. You know, I don't think it's worth it after that, because it's expensive as well, I think. Costs money, a lot of money. You have to fundraise the shit out of that. But yeah.
Alright, so we're nearly done with the podcast. I just have like 2 last questions for you guys, and then we're good. The first question is like different versions for both of you guys. So it's like, okay, say there's a kid that's like maybe 5 years younger than you, right? So this 13-year-old or 12-year-old kid coming into ID, or coming into a company, or like just trying to take dance more seriously. What advice would you give them? And then for you, Tanz, it would be, maybe there's like someone that's 18 that has that's trying to do the same, not maybe dance seriously on the team, but maybe dance professionally like outside of a team, or just take on freelancing as well, or just anything. What advice would you give them? Yeah, so whichever one wants to go first, just go ahead.
Alright. Man, kid coming into a company. I think if there's advice that I would give them in terms of what to focus on when you're in the company, how to get better, it's just focus on trying to be, as cliche as it sounds, focus on trying to be a better version of yourself. And focus when it comes to the competitive side of it, if you do get into a crew and you do manage to compete, focus on trying to beat yourself rather than beat other crews, because that can get to you if you're going down the road. Because when it comes to training, when it comes to competing for so long, sometimes you can focus too much on trying to beat your opponents, but you really do succeed when you're aware of them, but you really just focus on coming into training each day and going, how can I be better than what I was the day before? In terms of individual advice with being within a dance company, wanting to upskill, firstly, immerse yourself in it as much as you can, because like anything in life, you will get more out of it the more you put in. And for something like a company, there can be a lot to offer, which you don't always have to take. Sometimes it can be optional. When it comes to a competition, obviously there's lots of training that you can do. But what I mean by immersing yourself into it, I don't mean like make sure you focus on training and show up to each one you can do. I mean, get to know your peers, get to know your choreographers, talk to them, ask for their advice. You'll have extremely experienced people in whatever company you're in, I'm sure, that know something that you don't. So get to know them, get to understand their process, understand where they've come from and what their goals were when they decided to join a company, and compare that with yourselves. See where they are now and go, oh, okay, is this the direction that I want to go as well? Or do I want to lean to somewhere else? when it comes to developing my personal career, because the best thing about being in a company is that, one, you're surrounded by kids that want to be better versions of themselves just like you, and that's a collective drive that will push yourself ever upwards. And two, you're surrounded by incredible influential choreographers that have completed that process and have now established themselves within the industry, and they know who they are as an individual choreographer, dancer and performer. And that means that you can ask them and talk about their journey and go, what did you do to get to this point? And if you want to be like them, then they can tell you what they've done, and you can compare that with your journey, and you can understand where you might want to end up going. And when you have that, when you go down the road, that's going to be so helpful for you, because not only will you be able to understand where you are amongst a journey from a start to finish, or however long it takes, but it also means that you'll be able to understand where you want to maybe differ as well, and where you want to become more individualistic and potentially create your own style and understand who you are, because you will inevitably find that, no matter how influential, no matter how many people you follow to the brim, you will eventually span out and find your style. But yeah, that's the advice I'd give.
That's great advice, man.
Yo, that's great.
I wish I heard that when I was 13, bro.
Goes on there. It's like, do you want the other question too, man?
Sorry.
So someone that's already a bit trained, but that's wanting to take dance a little bit more serious.
Yeah, like just kind of the route that you went down, because for Manny, I just picked something that was based on his lifestyle.
Yeah.
So he just came out. He's still with ID,
Mm-hmm.
but for you, that's that went through ID, and now like you're doing freelance, or you did do freelance.
Yep.
How would someone go about like doing that? Like, some advice there.
I guess you for freelance, definitely opportunities that you do find are given to you is very much about like what your like skills are based on your skills, and if people are interested in working with you, is because they're genuinely interested in you. So find, always be confident in that, definitely. But also try and be yourself, and be easygoing, easy to work with.
Yeah.
Always challenge yourself and challenge your peers around you, in trying to in their way of thinking, during any kind of process. Always try push yourself as much as you can, be a better version in those processes. But it's very important in the freelance world that you're likable, you're approachable, you're easy to work with.
Yeah.
People want to work with you because you can get along well with different people. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Outside of your level of skill, you could be the greatest dancer, but if you're not a nice person to work with, or you're pretty hard to work with, I don't think you'll find that you won't get given much opportunities. If not, probably just nothing, because you're just difficult to work with. And always have that open mind on trying something new, and be prepared for different type of space, with having different type of people in that space. As you'll find that you'll find every process is different, and you may come across multiple jobs that you've worked with certain people, and then you'll come across people that you haven't worked with at all. And just be prepared, because sometimes you might come across someone that you don't really gel with too well. So not every job you're gonna gel with everyone, right? And you'll have clashes in the way that you think, but there's that level of compromise, and there's also the same goal that everyone is trying to achieve. So yeah, find the professionalism in it. Know when you kind of just, okay, we're just gonna I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. We're gonna let this idea go, happen. Let the ball keep rolling. Because it's a tricky industry, and it's very, very hard to freelance for sure. Learn as much as you can about taxes for sure. Learn how to fill out an IR330 form. Make sure you pay your ACC claims, because I just found out that I haven't paid any of mine in the past 4 years. So that can bite you. Yeah, so that's definitely something that you don't learn at all in school.
No.
And studies, I did a bachelor's of performing and screen arts. Majoring in contemporary dance at Unitech, and I did not learn one thing about taxes. So definitely that's important if you want to take dance as a career. If you're not going into a full-time company and you want to do freelance, learn as much as you can about that. And always make good connections. Good relationships with people. Hold on to those relationships as well. Keep in touch with everybody that you do work with, because you never know. Something may pop up for them, or you may be given an opportunity that not necessarily you can fulfill that job, and you might know a good recommendation as well. So always give back to the community. I think is important. But yeah.
Solid. Last question for both of you guys is this is the question I ask all my guests when they come on. It's my closing question, which is, in 5 years from now, right?
That's just an interview.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I always.
Just finished there. Shit's going. Yep. Carry on. Sorry. 5 years time. 5 years.
No.
I may as well. Let's go.
Okay. So, 5 years from now, you're gonna watch this back.
Okay.
Well, I'll send you this clip 5 years from now. But this is your chance to be like, what are your hopes, or what do you want to say to the person 5 years, to the you 5 years from now? What would you want to say? Or, what are your hopes for them? Yeah, just it's your time.
I can do this one first time.
Tanz in 5 years time.
How old is he?
30s.
There's
45. 31.
45.
I'll be retired by then, I've already lived my life to the best. I don't know, that's an interesting question, that one, eh? You're speaking to your future self.
Yeah.
I'd say that I hope
Speak to him now.
I hope that whatever you're doing at the time, it's because you choose to be happy at that point in time. It's you've kind of decided everything, all the decisions that you've made from now till then is because they're your decisions, and your own choices. Also, what else? I haven't actually thought about this type of question.
It's a butty one.
Yeah, I just say be happy. Be happy with where you've gotten to. Hopefully you got a house in Auckland somewhere. That's always been a dream there.
Yeah. Hopefully you're out of gold.
Yeah. Hopefully your diamond status, immortal. If you're still dancing, 100% you're still dancing.
Yeah.
And And if it isn't dance, you've carried all those like aspects of your dance life, and everything that you do and everything that you've learned from there has like given you more opportunities in life.
Sure, man, sweet. All right, Manny, in 5 years, well, I'll be 23. Damn. 23. Well, what's up, bro? Hope you're doing alright. What, you'll finish uni by now, or you'll be studying your postgrads in film after doing music for 3 years, which I'll definitely support no matter what, or you're doing your biological science major, who knows. But I hope that you're still doing what I am starting to do now. Over 5 years, you're me. I've always wanted to professionally freelance commercial and personal work within film, music and dance. So if you've managed to find the perfect balance of those three and maintain a stable commission and relationship with all three, then I give props to you, my friends, because it's an interesting industry, all three, but they all gel together so well. And if you manage to ignore everyone saying that you can't do all three, and you have to pick one, and you're out there doing all of them, then you've done it, my friends. You've done what you wanted to do as a teenager. So I give you props. My only hope is that you feel a bit more settled in the world, and understand who you are as a person, and knowing that you are who you are, and what you do doesn't define that. It's just a part of who you are. So I hope that you've lived a little and spent some time experiencing the world, doing what you love, meeting some people along the way, and enjoying it all as best you can.
Sweet as. And that is us for this episode, guys. Thanks for joining us. Before we leave, for the audio listeners, for the YouTube watchers, I'll have their socials in the bio. But for our audio listeners on Spotify, do you guys just want to plug yourself, like where they can find you?
Oh yeah.
Anything up and coming that's they can look out for as well?
Oh snap. Well, my Instagram, you can find that for Tanz.Motutere. So my last name, that's TANZ.MOTUTERE. That's probably the most active thing that's happening so far in terms of promoting what I'm kind of doing. Other than that, Taniora Motutere on Facebook. And yeah.
Follow the tag Manfred. That's gonna be up and coming on Spotify and some other platforms, but my artist name Manfred will be everywhere. That's MANFRD. You can find my Instagram, which I post weekly videos on, dance videos, concepts, whatever you can think of. That should be Manny Okan, which is my proper name, and then you'll find Manfred as my username, a couple underscores, but you'll see my face. So yes, follow that, and you'll see some cool stuff. Sure.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.